get so hyped up on like where to train at for Loretta's, where to race at.
Yep.
And it's so there's so many things that just I think are freaking get really mixed in like what's important and what's not. Like trying to get ready. It's so hard to some of that stuff you really can't prepare for. You have to kind of wing it, dude.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, Loretta's is such a unique track anyway. There's really
I
no
know.
track like it anywhere
Yeah,
in the US.
dude.
So no matter what you do, unless you like your
Yeah.
local track look like Loretta's, you're not gonna get
No,
it.
dude. And then like even like everyone tries so hard. Like when I was racing, the big deal was like the 10 Commandments, right?
Yeah.
But
Yep.
like that was the big deal when I was racing was like are you gonna be ready for the 10 Commandments? Because that was where the separator was in 80s and 60s was like if you could jump them and triple them. And so
Yep.
a lot of people like MTF and then even other tracks, whatever was around, we tried to do it at my track one time. We'll try to replicate the 10 Commandments.
Yep.
And no one ever got it right, dude. You'd spend all summer like practicing this, you jump, and they weren't even anything like it. And it was raining and you never could jump them anyway. So it was like, what was the point, dude?
Exactly.
It made no sense, dude.
And I think back then, like the track was different because you still had the big tabletop in the middle. Yeah. I feel like the 10 Commandments were just I know they say they haven't changed, but I feel like they were a little different back then.
I mean, they were way steeper when I was back in 04 and I guess around then. But then towards the end of the year, like I know if you watch videos of me at Loretta's in 2010, you're pretty much like skimming them out of the end of them. Yeah, you would jump in and skim out. And they're bigger now again, aren't they? Aren't they like more of like tabletops now?
Yeah, they built some. I think it was man. Before 2010, they kind of made them tabletopy to the point where some kids were even like getting on top of like every other and kind of
and like skimming across.
Exactly, like almost like some like step on, step offs. But no, it's definitely it's such a unique track. They till the start so freaking deep. I mean, it's a tighter track than I think a lot of people might give it credit for. And the lines that develop, man, are just out. They're crazy.
Yeah, the track gets gnarly. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I never liked it too much because of the way the ruts developed. They always get those choppy coming out. Dude, I always hated that stuff, dude. I think every rider hates it, but
exactly.
It's always hard. Yeah. So, dude, I had something I wanted to ask you. Like, so when I started doing my training, because since you're an engineer, I've always wondered it, and so we can get into it. Since you're Rod, you'll be able to explain it too. But when I was doing the training, I was like thinking about when I started watching some of these like the biggest whip contests, and I had a lot of kids being like, "Yo, can you teach me how to whip?" And I'm like, I don't know if you can teach that, dude, because like, do you know when you're learning to whip off of like on a motocross track, you start out by just basically letting your back wheel slide off the jump, right?
Yep.
And then, have you ever hit a freestyle ramp before?
No, a few guys have tried to get me to do it, and the only thing I hit was the foam pit at Pashana's place.
Okay, so dude, I've been in your position before where I've never hit a ramp before and I was terrified to do it. And then they had one at Hard Rock at the sand not at the sand track, but like they had one in that area over there. And so when Jimmy D and those guys hit it a few times and I had hit it, but then I wanted to, I was scared. And then, so I had one of my buddies, Ray that used to stay there. He showed me how to hit it. And then after hitting it, I was like, wow, this is so much safer than a dirt jump, dude.
It is. Cause you're not sliding, dude.
It's like, once you just hear like how fast someone has to go on it, you can like pretty much, it's like, it's just math, dude. You just like, it's the jump hits the same way every time you jump it.
Exactly.
And you're actually barely moving in the air. So like you have all this time to kind of position the bike to land. And so the land is normally pretty long, and so it's actually pretty safe, dude, to be honest. It's better than a dirt jump.
I would agree. If you can nail down the fact that it's a metal or whatever and not dirt, you're gonna be solid.
And so then the point I'm getting to though is when you start to learn how to whip on a metal ramp, you can't slide off the face, right? You have to like, it gets into this weird, like you almost like put your weight into the bar, like, and then you kind of like pull back and then you kind of like use your muscle to turn down. But what makes the bike come back around? Like when you're sliding off the jump, you can just almost let it go. The faster you let it go back, it'll always come back around, right? Unless is it the gyro? Is it the gyro of the wheel spinning?
It's almost like a gyro effect of your whole. If you look at your body as a system, like the bike and your body, you're on. It's a rotation. So as you're throwing it out, you're almost pivoting around yourself and bringing that back. So you're creating the arc of the gyro itself. So if the bike was just out there doing its thing, yeah, the bike would, you hit it sideways, the bike would come back, but the orientation would be the same, but where that bike ended up would be anywhere, right? But because you're the one that's muscling, you're the anchor point, you're that pivot point, you're creating a gyro effect, and then you're also riding that gyro effect. So as you're pivoting the bike around you, you're also letting that weight, some of that inertial force, bring you around with the bike as well.
But
so it's a bunch of factors.
You see, there's like a point in which the bike hits, and then it comes back. So it's weird.
So that's that ending arc. That's where that arc starts to kind of like turn back down. That you're hitting, because you could almost draw like a path that the bike travels, the rear end. It's always going to be an arc. It's always going to be something that's kind of like circular. That's when you start getting to that point of like, up, here we go, and then we're coming back. That's like that kind of catch point you're referring to.
So wait, can you pick the point and what that arc actually, to where the maximum arc is, or is that determined by how you leave the ramp?
I think it determines by how you leave the ramp, your speed, the length of the bike, stuff like that, like how you're moving around the bike. I generally, I think it's always going to be around the same, but you can alter that a little bit by all of those different variables. You know what I mean?
So at what point does skill become involved, dude? Like, so we're talking about this is
dude,
right?
Essentially, but just to be able to do that's the skill. Like, we could break it down.
To commit to it, right? To actually be like, okay, I'm going to actually go this fast and do it. So it just happens.
To be able to take your body and move the bike around your body, dude, that's the skill. We can quantify what's happening, cool, but the skill is to actually apply that. How many people are actually applying it, dude? Whatever freaking Behrman and Sipes and these guys are doing, dude, like not many people can do that, man. But skill is doing this,
Okay, but no, the point I'm getting at though is that like when you start doing these whips on ramps, at some point you just learn that it's like, okay, there's steps of a process that equals an equation where it's just like, okay, if I go this fast and turn this hard, it's going to go that big. So I got to go to a bigger ramp to go bigger.
Exactly.
Dude.
Yep. X plus Y equals Z.
Yeah. So it's just like, it becomes on like, how much volume do you put into X and Y?
Yes.
So it's like, is that really skill that, like, what I'm saying? Like, there's skill, but it's like who's willing to go the highest kind of thing.
Exactly. And I think where we start seeing like uber skill people like Tom Padges, when he's like upside down on his bike.
Stupid.
That's skill, being able to take that equation and then just make the amount you put into like that first X, you know what I mean? That first input, you're putting a lot in, you know what I mean? So I think that's where the skill comes in, where I might just do like a,
but so how like the tradition of whip started, where it was just, your just your basic whip, and now they're doing these like things like called oppos, where it's like the first time I ever seen somebody do that was Josh Hansen at the DC photo shoot. He was doing like but he wasn't really getting it inverted. He was kind of just doing like the side, coming back.
Yep.
And I thought that was insane. And I never could figure it out, but is it the same sort of, I guess like equation we're talking about that brings the bike back, or is it different?
That's a relatively the same. I think what you're kind of with the oppo, you're using a lot of the spinning inertia of the wheel. So all inertia is something's resistance to being moved, right? That's if you look at it like that way. So like obviously we've got these tiny little baby wheels, we roll them, we try to move them around, not that hard, right? You take your a 450 wheel, a 19-inch, 21-inch, whatever, do the same thing. It's got a lot more inertia. It's gonna be a lot harder to be able to get the thing to turn around. So I think what's happening there is the spinning inertia of the wheels, a little bit of the motor also, but again, applying a little bit of that arc to it. So as we're coming around, your body kind of subconsciously is also twisting to bring the bike back. So you're almost doing like a misshapen arc, if you will. But the spinning inertia of the wheels too, that brings you back to I guess your center or your nominal position as well.
Okay, so knowing what like being an engineer, which bike is the best bike to do a whip on, dude?
Oh, dude, that is
honestly, what makes sense and why?
So if we're looking at like an inertial standpoint,
like purely numbers, dude, purely numbers.
I feel a heavier, like a 450, a heavier bike, because you've got
Heavier
more,
bike.
you've got more that's
You got the torque too, dude.
Exactly. So you've got more weight that you it takes a lot more to get it going, but once it gets going, dude, you know that thing's coming back. Like you can feel it's carrying you. Whereas you have a lighter bike, you're more susceptible to wind. You might overdo it. You might, you know what I mean? A lot more can go wrong. But with the 450 or heavier bike, it's almost like you bookend yourself of like, I can only go so hard because the bike's so hard, so heavy. I really can't go too little because once I get this thing moving, it's moving. So it almost keeps you in like this happy area, I feel.
Yeah. I don't think I messed too much around on ramps with a 450. I think I did most of them on my 250, but I know that like on a 450, you can pretty much jump a ramp from almost dead stop. Like you could literally pull like to the ramp and just like be in second and like still make it.
Exactly.
So that's all the freaking torque that you throw into that whatever the point that we called it, like that freaking apex point that like it kicks back around.
Exactly. And if you watch some of the freestyle stuff, like if you go like a supercross, whatever, you can hear the bikes. They're just bop, 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 and that's it. Whereas before, people, you know, a couple of years ago, the 2000s, people were going brop, 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 and then doing it. 450s, you're like, I'll jump it now, crack, and then you're 80 feet. You know what I mean?
Dude, what about this thing they're doing? What about the quarter pipe thing they're doing now, dude?
So crazy. It looks easy, like when as a fan, when I watch it. But dude, when you think about it, it's like that shit is so difficult. I
talked to Tom about it, and he said that it's actually super easy, but the first time doing it is terrifying. He said it's not that bad.
Yeah.
Because like the way it's like a whip, the way where it just comes back. It's like I can't explain how a whip works, but I just know it comes back around because it always does.
Yeah.
He said it's just like the same thing. You just kind of like the harder you go into it, like the more it comes back around. But he said if you don't whip it, you're just gonna basically eat shit, dude. Because it won't whip and you'll come backwards pretty much.
So what scares me about that is knowing how fast to hit it, to know that you want to go big, but you don't want to go too big. And then because you've got the added variable of suspension, you could like literally go into the ramp, compress your suspension, and then it could bounce you back a little bit. So now you're not really landing like in plane with where you want to, you know what I mean? You're like, you're essentially landing like 5 feet out from a sweet spot potentially. But so now you have to throw that in there. Then you got to throw in the fact that you have to do a massive whip, which again we said not everyone can do. But then you got to get your pitch right. So you can't just throw a whip and be good. If you're too far down, dude, you're KO'd, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I think those ramps throw you right every time, though, as far as pitch goes, dude.
It looks like it. I just know from a normal human being standpoint, a lot goes into it. Obviously, dude, for like Bearman and Padgett, those guys.
I know,
it's so innate. It's so natural for them.
What I'm telling you though is I think that if you hit a ramp once, you'd be like, oh shit, like it's not that bad. Like because I swear just the way a lot of the work is done for you, just the way the ramp is so consistent that you're not used to hitting something artificial. You're used to having bumps on a face and having to do weird stuff just to like keep your bike where it should be. And the ramp does all that work for you in a way.
I want to hit one now.
I'm not at all downplaying it, dude. The guys are insane. I've hit a hip jump before out in the hills in California with Darren Durham took me and Tickle out riding once in the hills out like wherever that is, like the ranch and stuff, like out that way in the freaking Beaumont Hills and stuff. But there's some skill behind that stuff that's like beyond just going fast, because when Darren took us out there, he was hitting stuff and me and Brock were like having trouble keeping up with him. Like just far as like just doing these weird hip jumps and we kept falling. And at the time Brock could smoke all of us in Supercross, but like Darren was dogging us in the hill. So like there's some style to it for sure. It's like street versus vert, dude. Like in skateboarding, it's totally different.
Exactly. Well, I agree with you 100%. 100%.
Like, I bet you like a lot of guys that we see going fast, if they went to like try to ride with Axel and those guys, they probably would look silly, dude.
No way. No.
Just like Axel and them would look silly on a Supercross track. Like they can ride, but like it's a totally different game, dude.
Exactly. We all have our discipline. Everything takes such a skilled like setup. Plus now, because there's been progression in every single sector of dirt bike racing, it's really hard to say like, oh yeah, well I'm pretty decent at Supercross, I'll carry that over to ride with these hardcore dudes in free riding. it's not the same, man. These guys have progressed free riding to the point where these guys are Roxons, you know, in free ride. Now Roxon is the Roxon of Supercross, and then motocross, you know, Tomac's a Tomac. You know what I mean? It everything is just so exponentially harder, elevated, that it's hard to find a crossover athlete. I think that's why we praise like guys like Sipes so much that can do these multidiscipline deals so well, because it's so hard that everything is so elevated. You have to be like Superman to be good at all of it.
Who's the best guy, right? Who's the most universal? It's got to be Durham for sure, because he's won suit. Dude, hasn't he podium? He's like podium Supercrosses.
I would say Durham or Sipes, but you gotta like also Durham does have a flat track background. So we talked about that a little bit when we did this that ESPN
legit flat track background.
Dude, legit flat track. Like the guy is like was known.
Dude,
so we
you know Darren?
A little. I met him at that event. So
he's awesome. Yeah, I've known him for a long time. Yeah,
super nice guy. But he was giving everybody pointers on like how to flat track, and I'm like, dude, could you flat track? He goes, dude, heavy flat tracker.
He's good at everything, man.
Yeah. So I think him and Sipes, dude, like those are some guys that like they got to be the best, man. I mean, because they can do moto, they can do Supercross, they can do GNCC, they can do woods, they can do the flat track, they can do XYZ. It's crazy.
It's funny how this free riding thing has came up, because there was a lot of us back in the day doing it, but just not filming it.
Yeah.
And I'm so bummed I wasn't, because like at our track, we would like when we built our track, we had this massive leftover pile of dirt from building jumps.
Yeah.
And then when Darren came down to stay, because like Darren used to come stay the summer at my house in North Carolina to ride, because they couldn't ride in Pennsylvania all winter, right? So they come down in the wintertime and stay all winter, and we'd ride or whatever, or summer, whatever, what vice versa. And we would just spend all day jumping these like hips of dirt and just doing tricks and practicing knacks and just went like fender grabs, whatever it was, dude, wheel tap a rock, anything stupid. We were doing that stuff all the time, and now everyone's doing it. And it's like, it's really cool. I'm like, dude, we were filmed, I was doing that crap back in 07. Dude.
That's the cool thing now, man.
It's sick. Yeah.
Or like when people talk about
transfers,
like you remember like that whole like 50 nuts, like 50cc pit bike back in the day. Now those same guys like are like, dude, now pit biking's big again. Like we were doing that, you know, when it was like,
are you kidding me?
Yeah, right.
I can't believe you remember 50 nuts. Remember Kelly Tedder? Dude, he was so sick, dude. I got
nuts.
I full on like went after and got a twin brother sponsorship all because of that movie, dude. I modded out pit bikes for like, I carried a 110 around in my trailer, like everywhere I went, with like a 135 kit or 115 kit, whatever it was, with the clutch. And it was so sick, dude. Those guys were so insane. They were sick, dude.
They were just out, and like some of the things they were doing on a stock 50 with handlebars,
dude.
It was insane.
BMX bike, dude, like full on. They would do full sets of BMX jumps, dude.
Exactly.
Like downhills. Like
it was nothing.
And just remember they would do 360s and stuff, dude?
Yes.
That was so sick. Who was all in that movie, man? It was Kelly. Who else?
Man,
do you remember?
I couldn't even think of the names. I think that I had that video on VHS.
Yeah, I don't think it's nowhere to be found. It was a VHS movie.
Yeah, I know. I'm sure if I scour like my parents' place, I might be able to find.
Dude, do you remember there was a clip in that movie where they were doing wheelies on a bridge, like along like a water retention or something, and there were cops across the street. They were like flicking them up as they were riding. Dude. It was so cool. It was like such a punk rock movie. Dude.
It was, dude. It was that whole thing. Like you could honestly say that movie started a whole movement for like pit bike, just mayhem.
I know, dude. It's just like but they just stood up for like what motocross at that time was just like. Free riding spots with their buddies,
exactly.
And that's what Darren, the guys are doing, is bringing it back. I think it's so cool, man.
Yeah, brings the fun back, because I mean, you know, when you're racing all the time and doing this, it's fun, but it becomes a job, man.
You have to find a balance, dude.
And now like you have to train so much, it takes so much out of you. You almost lose the fun of why you started in the first place. You know what I mean?
Man. I know that's like, I'm afraid it's like, that's kind of what I feel like happened to Cincerillo, dude.
Yeah. I mean, it's you can see that across not just AC, so many guys, man. I mean, Laporta would straight up tell people, man, like, I just got burnt out of it, man. Like,
smoke, dude.
You know, all the training, all the sacrifice, like, it doesn't become fun anymore. You know,
that's so hard to find that balance too, I think, and that's where I think some of these newer teams are good at seeing that in younger kids, and that's why you're seeing them pick some of these guys that are so good.
Yeah,
like some of these younger guys who are just like, yo, I ride like when I can, but like I do my, like I'm going to school, like, yo, I want that kid because he's going to make, he's fine. He's got the right balance, dude.
Exactly. And you know what, what's interesting is I feel like they're pulling kids up later and later now too. So instead of like, I think AC was maybe, or Faulkner was like the last crop of guys that we're going to see be pulled directly like out of, you know, like super mini and, you know, like right when they turn 16, they're on pro. You know what I mean? Jet Lawrence is an anomaly, but I think like you see guys like Levi Kitchen and stuff like that being pulled when they're 19, 20, gives them time to mature, gives them time to kind of be a little bit more of a kid, get you know what I mean? Maybe they peak at a later time so they have more longevity, essentially.
Yeah. I could see either way being a benefit though, because like when you get on that equipment, dude, it's totally different, and there's more you can get out of those bikes. And like, I know that when I was racing Tomac and Barsha, they were going to California like every so often to test with Geico, and they'll be able to ride with Kennard while they were out there. And so they were already practicing with faster guys, and they were getting a kit before anyone else was getting it. And so they had this like really stiff stuff, and they just were doing something nobody else was doing, dude.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you're ready for it, do it. But like, how do you know it's like, how do you, you're freaking betting on the jockey and not the racehorse at that point, dude. So you got to really, it's a gamble. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because people have done it without that help too. So it's hard to say, man.
Yeah. No, I agree 100%. No, that's a good point. I think if the teams make a big emphasis to create that sort of, that balance of like, hey, you know, you don't have to be training with our guys every day. You can go out and kind of just relax, hang out at the track, free, you know, something, whatever breaks up the monotony of training. I think that would,
because like, dude, imagine the bike you ride now, and then all of a sudden I take your bike and I put suspension on it, and now you can jump jumps. Every jump that's like a flat jump, you can jump 10 foot further, and you can just jump. You're like, wow, okay, dude, I didn't know I can do that. Now you got to learn how to ride all over again.
Yeah, you know, I see your point. So you're saying essentially getting that bike earlier on lets you build skills.
Yeah, all of a sudden you're freaking, you have this new perspective on what you can do with a dirt bike, dude. Like you can, I don't even know, dude. Like you can manipulate it in a way that you didn't know was possible.
Yeah, no. For
sure. So it's a new muscle. It's a new muscle you're building, dude.
Yeah. There's merit in that for sure. I think
it's like all of a sudden realizing you can use Excel and you're like trying to engineer on a notepad. You're like, are you serious, dude? You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like you're like, oh, dude, I can do way more now. Like, what else can I learn, man?
Exactly. And I when I say that, I don't mean that teams shouldn't be picking up kids when they're on super minis or their first year in Beagle. I think it's great to have that team structure. I mean, just making sure that they give them enough of a break so that they peak at the right times. You know what I mean?
It's all time.
Yeah, exactly. But for sure, like we look at guys like now, like Ryder DiFrancesco, who was it? Nick Romano, Matt LeBlanc, all these guys. I'm sure that they're on the A kit equipment. I'm sure their bikes are pretty much on par with what they have on the pro side. I think it's again just fostering that sense of not being burnt out.
I don't think they're getting, I wouldn't say that they're getting, I doubt, this is a guess here, but like back when I was racing, you weren't getting, I wasn't getting pro equipment, but I was getting a taste of
pretty close,
like entry level pro stuff, dude.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's what I mean. Comparable to,
it was like an entry level. So I was like, oh, it's way better, but we got way better stuff too. So there's more where that came from.
That's what I mean. Yeah. You comparable to their pro counterparts, not far off.
Exactly.
A lot closer to pro bikes than what they would be if
better than what you can buy.
Exactly.
For sure. Yeah.
Exactly. Man, I would love to get like, if I could just have Mitch Payton just for a weekend, dude, just to massage my suspension out, just to get me set up.
Yeah.
Do you know how invaluable that would be? Oh my gosh.
I rode Brock's PC bike down the neighborhood street one time, dude, and I was like, it was snappy.
Was it awesome?
So remember how sick those bikes sound? I was just like, it was like, pa pa pa, like, dude, dude, it was sick, dude. I mean, but like at that point, like most of the bikes are pretty close. Like you'd have like only somebody really experienced. You would only notice, be like, okay, I can tell because I'm making this jump a little bit easier than I would. I'm not like, it would be minuscule differences, but they just sound good. It's just a PC bike just sounds so crisp, man.
Yeah, no, for sure. That I'm
Dude, remember those?
I would love to ride one of those bikes, man. One of the PC bikes. Ugh.
Remember the dually Honda? Do they still do dual Honda exhaust, dude?
I think they do. I think the 21 or the 20.
The dually, remember the dually Yoshis on Geico? Those things were so loud, dude.
Man.
It's like, bah, bah. It's like, oh my God, dude.
How do they pass tech? I don't get that.
I just remember Barsha's bike. I'm like, that thing's so loud, dude.
And on top of that, Barsha never set off rev limiter.
No, dude.
Always on limiter, dude.
Dude, I honestly think but dude, after when I first started, he was doing that on 2-strokes, and he would basically hold the bike wide open and never let off the clutch, right? Yeah. So by doing that, because a 2-stroke, you can't, there's no really in between, right? The RPMs are like either low or high. So you can't really like roll the throttle on. So by doing that, you actually give yourself more control of the throttle in RPMs. Yeah. And it made sense, dude. Like, especially in sand, like anywhere where you need to control the speed, like without doing on off, basically slipping the clutch makes sense, but you have to afford to buy clutches. So
you're essentially doing this, and then you're just,
and just you have more control because the throttle, on a throttle, there's no, on a 2-stroke, it's either on or off at a certain point, dude. Yep. So, but the clutch, you can find that in between spot.
Yeah. No, that for sure makes sense. I'm sure his mechanic hated him, but that makes that you're burning through clutches every moto.
I've heard that they're doing clutches every moto with those guys.
Yep.
Because at this point now, it's a well-known skill, so everyone's doing it. But when Barsha was doing it at first, I was just like, why is he doing that? Like, I thought it was silly. But then after a while, on the 2-stroke, I started doing it too because it made sense.
Yeah.
And then I think on the 4-stroke too, it's just another level. It's just another way to track the bike easier on really, really difficult places to track, like really hard pack sections,
Yeah, I think most serious riders, they do a little bit of power metering, but I don't think it's as drastic. It might be like, oh, I just want to kill power a little bit in this corner, and then you're out. But if you're doing it the whole way around the track, that takes some skill, man. That is a masterful way to ride.
I think too, it's just part of Barsha's riding style, and it makes it. Dude, believe it or not, it's really hard to focus with him behind you, dude. Like when he was passing me at South, he was just like wide open, and you can't think straight. That's insane. Yeah,
that's insane, man. Yeah. That is insane.
Something too that like it was really weird to adjust to was when I first moved to California, riding the test tracks. If I can find any pictures, dude. There's the test tracks all they do is just water them with, like, they have one freaking, you've probably seen it on videos, but they have like one giant sprinkler, and they run it once a day, and that's it. And so the track the lines stay exactly the same, and they just water it, and the track is pretty much, it's a highway, dude. It's like, it's asphalt.
Yeah. So does that screw you up when it comes to, like, just in the back of your mind, like, holy crap, this track is slick, or like, did you actually get good traction there?
Oh no, you have to learn how to. Dungey taught me how to do it. That's what I'm leading into is like riding bigger gears and that's one thing that the clutch helps you do as well, is ride bigger gears, and that's one thing why it's good to do it. But like when I first moved out there, it took me a while to use the Supercross, and one of the things that Dungey was like, he kept telling me to shift up, and I'm like, dude, I'm already in like 4th gear. And he's like, dude, shift up. And I'm like, or I'm already in 3rd. He's like, shift up again. I'm like, are you sure, dude? And I'd be like, there's no way, like this, like there. And sure enough, I'm like, all right, dude. Like, he's like, I'm telling you, the track's better, dude. And it always would, like, it's like, just like, you just touch a little bit and just shift up. And it was always better. And
I wonder how did he figure that out?
Because freaking winning however many titles, how many races he won. I don't know. Yeah, this is freaking.
So this is when he was already established, and like,
dude, this is Dungey, like when this was him racing factory Suzuki in 2010.
Oh, so he was multi-time champion already.
He was already, he already had won titles and stuff. Yeah, so
gotcha.
I mean, he was killing it. So he was like helping me learn Supercross. Him and Metcalf both, but Dungey was someone that was like, yo, keep shifting up, dude.
Yeah,
and every time I would be like, are you sure, dude? I'm already in 3rd gear. And he'd be like, yeah, shift up again. And every time I was always better. I'm like, damn, he's right, dude. Okay.
Wow.
And so it's just weird. Some of the stuff there's some stuff that goes back to super basic, and you're like, whoa, wait a minute. You have to start back at the drawing board.
Yeah.
It's weird, right? It's odd. So it's like some of the stuff you wouldn't think of. It's like it's almost too simple.
Yeah. So was it to the point where your bike was like lugging, or did you
lugging bad, dude? Like, so
really
some of these like sweeper bowls, man. Oh, man, I wish I could find photos, man, because because the tracks are so like you literally see rubber on the track, and basically the point where it was almost like it was like an eighth of the throttle in third or fourth gear. So you come in. They say that the fastest guy, like Ronnie Tishner always told me this, and Ronnie Tishner has like groomed some of the sickest riders of all time. Yep. And he still is. He's still like
training.
He's still doing like he was. What's the guy he just had? That was on Star, dude. Who am I thinking of?
You're gonna hear Ronnie Tishner being thanked at just by maybe over half of the kids at Loretta Lynn's next week.
I mean, Tishner, there was someone he just had on Star that I'm thinking of that you just mentioned his name and I can't think. I'm losing.
Kitchen?
No, the other guy.
Thrasher.
No.
Who else do they have? Fry. Cooper. Justin Cooper.
No. It's somebody from he just went pro recently. He's younger, dude.
On a Blue Crew bike?
On Star, yeah, man.
Matt LeBlanc. Nick Romano.
Okay. Romano, yeah. Tishner trained Romano too. And like he is someone that's just like above average. He's killing it. So, but Tishner always told me the fastest guy on the track is the guy slowing down the least. And it's true. Like it's not about going fast. And so at these really, when the tracks get really rough, dude, and like dry, it's all about coming into these sections without having to get on the gas again. So you come in with a ton of momentum in fourth gear and you're just like, oh, and you're like threading the needle, dude, is all you're doing. And that's what Dungey was doing. He was hauling ass. And that's what I think you're seeing Hunter Lawrence. And if you go back and that's what you're seeing these guys when they look like they're barely trying. Yeah. They're not really going fast. They're just not slowing down, dude. That's what Caroli's doing in these gnarly tracks. If you pay attention, you'll see they're just not slowing down, dude. They're just kind of just like letting the bike move and just picking spots to brake. And it gets that's why I think it's really critical and methodical with like how you think about a dirt bike and going fast.
Interesting. Okay. Huh.
It's a weird way to, now that depends on the conditions, right? So if you're riding Waldo on a perfectly groomed day, that's not going to work, dude.
Yeah.
Have you been to Waldo in Florida? I'm trying to think of a track. I'm trying to think of a track that we can both think of.
Dude, I don't remember Waldo.
Dade City.
I never rode Dade City. I did. I was supposed to go down there and I don't know if you know this dude, but Mike Pacone used to like ride there a lot. Yeah. So he's an annoying guy. Yeah, and we were chatted like this is years ago. I'm like, oh, you come down and do Dade City, it's a sick track. I'm like, oh, okay, maybe one of these days, but never got a chance to go down there. But dude, he used to run that track.
Have you been to Bostwick?
No, I haven't been to Bostwick.
PAX tracks, dude. No.
PAX is pretty gnarly.
Okay, so PAX tracks, that's a good one. That's a good example. So it's pretty much just a wide open track. Yeah. But like you're not going to go there by being smooth and winning. You're going to go there by scrubbing jumps and holding it wide open, right?
Yes. Yep.
So I think that you're right now. I've been watching Ferrandis, and I feel like he's kind of adopting. Like I feel like a lot of guys come over here from Europe, and Watson in particular and Muskin took a while to get dialed in. Because I think at first they were riding like really calculated and not being aggressive, and they some of our tracks don't get rough enough where that works. Yeah. But then all of a sudden the tracks get really rough and gnarly, and it is working, and then they're adding in a little bit of this Barsha, really aggressive stuff. Yep. And I think you're seeing Ferrandis do like a hybrid of both, dude. Like he's riding like Barsha and he's riding like Caroli, dude. Or freaking who's my other guy I really like, dude? Damn it, I can't think of his name, dude. Geyser.
I love watching
Tim Geyser is a beast, dude. So
you know what's crazy? I never thought I would say this ever in my life. I feel like it's blasphemy. I think Tim Geyser, the way he rides, dude, is like he scrubs and cuts time down just as well as Stewart.
And he's barely trying.
And the way that Stewart would just effortlessly scrub, throw the bike around, save time, just like undercut all that stuff, dude. It's like he rivals Stewart. It's insane.
So here's another engineering question. Do you think the front, do you think the, how should I say this? I guess the effort of turning down makes an actual difference in like your trajectory, or is it all weight?
No, I think so. I think the fact that you're turning down and you're leaning, it compresses the suspension less, right? So what you're combating with scrubbing is I don't want to do this. I don't want to go high, blah, 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 which a variable of that is, you know, your bike coming, you know, compressing and then decompressing. That rebound effect is bouncing you up and wasting time. But if you scrub a jump and you're not allowing your suspension to compress, you're keeping the same velocity, but you're staying lower. Essentially, I don't have this delta of top of the jump or the landing to where I am. Now that delta is a lot less you know, a lot less time that I'm actually like in the air, or that my wheels will be off the ground spinning, right?
So all you're really doing is trying to keep your bike going this way and not
up. That's it.
Up, just straight.
Yeah, just straight.
And so I feel like we see some guys get like, I always clown. I had a few guys that I raced with in my class and sort of going up with me that overhyped, that like they would turn the scrub into a whip, dude. Right. Yeah. And I'm like, it's not necessary, dude. Like you're not doing it. It looks cooler, but you're not doing anything.
Yeah. And there's some guys that can just like absorb it with their bodies, kind of like old school, like Reed. Yeah. Reed wasn't a big scrubber, but he could absorb it. Or even like, even if you give it a little bit of scrub, but like what we see in Supercross is it almost looks like the guys are sitting down on their bike in the air. They're just bringing the bikes up into themselves. So if you do like a little bit of that, so the front end or the suspension doesn't compress as much and you're soaking it up, effectively, I think you're doing the same thing. I just think you're able to do the extreme of that when you do kind of have that little bit of that like extra like Stewart like where you're leaning the bike super far over, you're super low, you push with a super amount of speed. All that stuff allows you to do it even better, right? So the harder you scrub, the more time you save, essentially.
To me, it looks like Geyser is doing this thing where he's like going up the jump and leaning and letting his bike slide off the top while dropping his knee at the same time.
Yeah. Exactly.
You agree with that?
Yeah. So the Stewart shot that I forgot who took it, but the one of him at Bud's, like the infamous.
Yeah, I know talking about where he's like using the bump to like slide.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of guys are doing that to where like Geisher and a lot of other guys that are in MXGP because their tracks are just gnarly. They will start to pre-jump before they actually like the off area of the jump is. And that's essentially doing the same thing. It looks like they're getting super low, but they're getting low, but it looks like that because they've already left the ground and they're like super, super close to the, to that lip. So
and it's actually less effort than it would be to go like super gnarly and
exactly
get silly with it, dude.
Exactly.
Like I've been saying that like Jalik is one that scrubs really hard. I'm like, he should just chill out with the scrub and he would save way more energy and probably last longer in the moto, dude.
And that's a thing too. So what you brought up of energy saving and getting tired in moto, that's what people don't think about. Like, it's going to save you time if you scrub, this big jump ultra hard. But at the end of the moto, you're not going to be there. Your bike can stay low all at once. But if the jockey can't make it to the end of the race, what the hell is the point of all the scrubbing anyway?
That's not going to matter. Yeah,
exactly. It's not going to matter. So that's a really good point.
I think that's why the GP guys come over here with that skill to begin with, because they're forced to ride that way, because if they don't, they just crash all the time, dude.
Exactly.
And they can't finish a moto, dude.
Exactly.
So they're forced to ride that way, but then every once in a while they get a track of ours that might not be that rough and they're riding too comfortable and they get beat. And so like it takes all of a sudden Fran is like, oh, okay, I got to scrub a little bit harder and I got to go a little bit crazier. That's what I think takes time for them to adapt to. It's just my opinion of what I see going on, because it seems like it takes them a while, but when they figured out they're good, amazing. I mean, Purcell was insane. What's he? I don't even know what he's doing now, but
I don't know, counting his money.
Yeah. But I mean, he was someone that was really good at that tech. Like he was so good. Like when he was good, he was insane, man.
Purcell is another guy that like, some of the things that he did, man, I think he did a little bit of what you're talking about too, riding an extra high gear. Because when you watch him ride, he didn't look flashy. He didn't look like he was doing anything too crazy, but he was hauling the freaking mail, dude.
Dude, I personally rode with him at Southwick at my first national, and I remember in practice watching him go by me, and he didn't look fast. He looked like he was going slow, and he was going. I remember him after that practice, he qualified like 4 seconds a lap faster than me. And I was like, dude, no way. I'm like, he wasn't going that fast, dude.
Yeah.
It was just like he was just doing the right. He was dancing on the bike, dude.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
Dancing with the bike.
It's insane. And the guy's technique wasn't anything to like admire or whatever. He just,
he had that feel. And most of the MXGP guys' technique are actually kind of odd. They actually kind of like look sloppy.
Exactly.
Have you ever seen, I forget exactly, but like they say that when you like watch the Olympics, or when you watch the Kenya runners, they run with their arms flapping down to save energy. You ever started that before? Like they won't hold their arms up here, like just let them flap.
Yeah, no,
save every bit of energy.
Yeah,
and I'm like, I don't know. It could be like they're just like they don't, instead of like hold, they just keep. I don't know. It's just like weird. You never know. Like they have weird stuff that they're doing. I don't know.
It makes sense. It's not the prettiest, but if it gets the job done and you're getting the W,
because
who can argue, right?
All you're trying to do is just make consistent laps while reserving the most energy as you possibly can.
Exactly. Dude. And so many people, like, again, when we talk about technique, it's important. We know technique is important, obviously, but there are guys that can do it without proper technique. Look at Villapoto. He wrote like this, dude. Elbows down, elbows tucked in. It's a habit I'm trying to break, but like Villapoto made it work, dude. Freaking elbows down like this, just holding the mail. Like
Anderson is super good at it too, man. His technique is super funky. At the test track, he would always be riding. I'd be like, he looks terrible. He'd be going faster than me that day. I'm like, how's he doing it, dude? It makes no sense. But it works, man. So you can't clown on technique, because like people, it's whatever works for you, for sure, man.
Yeah, I agree. You can't argue with results, man.
Yeah, I even think too that it's going to become more about who can, because if you think about like a perfect race is get a good start. You want to basically get up front so you can find the good lines as quick as you possibly can. Mm-hmm. But as long as you get up front quick and set a little pace, and then you kind of just use your energy to find better lines throughout the moto. And I think that's what's happening right now with like, we keep seeing so many guys that are different in the top 3, like almost every race, dude.
Yeah.
And it's all about the start. It's like one weekend, Jet Lawrence is like smoking everyone. And then he's all of a sudden he's like outside the top 10. He's like having trouble, and it's all about the start and just finding those first 2 laps up front and finding good lines fast and not getting held up.
Exactly. 100%.
And then not falling. Everyone keeps falling, dude.
Yes. Yep. And that's where I don't know if that's a technique thing. I don't know if that's just a nerves thing. I don't know if that's just people rushing, or things have elevated to the point where guys are going faster. Margin for error gets a lot slimmer. You know what I mean?
I think it's no different than like you doing something in a video game and then having your parents come watching you and you messing it up. You did 1,000 times perfect. You mess it up. It's just like when you're racing, you're trying to focus on all these things at once. People are behind you. You make a mistake. Being fast is one thing, but then being a good racer is a totally other thing, dude. It's 2 separate skills, man.
Exactly.
So like being like all of a sudden a guy like Jalik gets a front, he's like, oh, I'm not used to it. And then he makes a mistake and goes down. Like does it once, he does it again. He's like, okay, now I got a little bit of the hang of it. I'll try it again. Yeah. And all of a sudden, next thing you know, you're winning 2 or 3 in a row, and then you got the hang of it. I think it just takes a ton of experience, man.
I agree.
Sometimes guys get lucky. Sometimes they, whatever.
Yeah. The rhyme and reason behind who's going fast, dude, is it'll break your head trying to figure that out, man.
I know, but it's cool to watch. So it's cool to watch the speed progress, I think, man.
It is, yeah, for sure. I'm excited to see how Unadilla shapes up. That's one track that I love watching, man. It's like old school kind of moto deal, like grass track, not really no, people really don't touch it throughout the year that much. It's just such a cool track, especially when you throw in like iconic rides like the RC versus Stu or the Stu versus Reed and all that stuff. That track has just so much freaking history, man. And going back before that, Unadilla was like, wasn't it like the site for like some like world championship stuff too, like back in the day?
I wouldn't know, dude.
Yeah. So
I wouldn't know. I've never raced there, man.
Yeah.
had the opportunity to in my first pro race, and I chose not to. I didn't want to ride that track. Dude.
No, honestly, I don't blame you. So whenever I hear like grass, I'm like, oh, it's gonna be an ice rink. I'm good. You know.
Dude, no, the choppy freaking bumps. I hate that stuff, dude.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about choppy bumps for like 30 minutes. I'm like, no, dude, no thanks, dude.
And then they have some gnarly freaking rocks in that dirt too. So the roost is like you're getting your ass beat for 30 minutes.
Who are your predictions? Are you going to do well there?
I think Ferrandis is going to do really well there. I don't think he's going to win, but I think second or third overall, or in the overall, I think he's going to be solid there. It's a very Euro style track, right?
It's gnarly, right? Is it get gnarly?
It's
like deep ruts, very deep ruts, really big bumps.
I would say the choppy bumps you're talking about, like choppy is an understatement. It gets pretty gnarly. Yeah. But I don't know. Kenny always does good there, but Kenny, I feel like
people like that stuff, dude.
Yeah, but Kenny's technique for winning races is like getting out front really, early, sprinting, and throwing down laps. I think everyone else kind of caught on a little bit, man, and they're kind of keeping him at bay a little bit better. You know what I mean?
I think there's so many fast guys in the class. It's just like, I mean, dude. And then too, you got the that. What are your thoughts on the like the new the graded gates, dude?
I think they're cool. I mean, it adds in a level of consistency. So I think their whole thing was, we want to see like, tighter hole shots, closer racing, blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
And part of me also, as a purist, I'm thinking like, I don't know, half the battle is trying to prevent your bike from getting wheel spin like that. If you want to be a truly good rider.
Like, and then guessing the traction, like you get one try. Like, well, you get a hot lap, and then, but it really, that doesn't give you that. You get one test run, you're like, all right, either was good or bad, you got to try again. So it's like, it's not much of a freaking trial, dude.
I agree. So I don't know, man.
I wonder how much different starts would be if it wasn't there. I don't know. Like, I wonder the real reason why they put it in there. You think it was for, you think like you saying being competitive makes sense to me because I've heard that before.
Yeah. Also, I mean,
not AMA guys.
It saves the track workers, time from just having to keep filling it in and doing blah, blah, blah. But I think it's just really easy to maintain, and it gives you a consistent starting surface so that, anybody has a shot of getting a whole shot, essentially. I guess that's the thought process in their mind.
Where do you see, do you see anything else progressing in the sport, like that's going to change? Do you think, like, if we look at other sports where they are, like, as far as like MotoGP and the way they're running stuff, like, do you see us going anywhere like that at all?
In the immediate future, I see bikes getting better. And I think in our sport, it's led based off of what the machine's doing or what the machine's capable of. So we see Supercross happened like the way, the modern Supercross style, when we started getting, more capable bikes with longer travel, bigger, powerful motors, more better motors that lasted longer. And then we started getting 450s. Then the jump lines changed, like rhythm lanes got a lot bigger because now the guys are doing, 2 leaps and they're done with the rhythm section, right? So we saw the sport progress in that direction. So I see the sport going electric at some point. I know people don't like hearing me say that, but I think electrification of motocross is going to be a thing for sure. I don't know to what degree, if it's a separate offshoot series or if they're going to make the big manufacturers make these guys go electric. But I think that's going to change the track up a little bit too. So we're going to see more. Maybe you'll start seeing like loamier Supercross tracks because those things have instantaneous torque, right? Or something like that. Or maybe we start getting into like the team side of it. Maybe they start letting us have headsets. You know what I mean? And maybe there's some team rider communication going on, which adds in like a whole other level of competitiveness and blocking and blah, blah.
I'm just thinking about what a Supercross race would sound like in a stadium. You would hear people being like this
weird screaming, swear.
Dude.
It would be weird. I think it would maybe there comes a time when like we hear like we've got like Supercross DJs that are playing music as the guys are riding or something, you know what I mean? So like maybe there's a whole Feld becomes gets in the music industry or something like that, starts laying down some tracks.
I think too we're gonna see the sport. Did you watch Fuel TV at all growing up?
Yeah, yep.
Dude, so I did too, and I used to love watching like trans world skateboarding and trans world snowboarding.
Yeah.
that channel or whatever, that show, and just watch free riding stuff. And now you're seeing Durham and these guys do like the viewing on YouTube. And I think we're going to see like a whole other sector of just free riders, dude. It's like, it's going to be a big thing. I think that'll be cool.
No, for sure. I mean, we're already starting to see the uptick of free riding, right? Like that whole, what was that, like that flow park that Behrman made? That whole Red Bull thing was like
that track that they built.
That was so freaking sick. Cool, and that's only going to get better from here. More guys are going to do that. They're going to start introducing stuff like that at more events. So that whole side is going to grow. I mean, it's going to skyrocket. And then we got to take into account also that last year in COVID was probably one of the biggest booms we had for the industry in a long time.
I've heard that, yeah.
So we haven't seen what that big boom is going to do to getting butts in seats, because now people have a bit more of an interest. They took up motorcycling and during COVID. Now they're, and once you get used to the sport, once you get into the sport, you catch the bug and you're addicted. So that's gonna lead to a lot more people at local tracks, a lot more people doing this, that, X, Y, Z. There's no telling how it can change, but we definitely know that there's going to be some shifting. I'll say, light a euphemism for change. Going to be some shifting on the road for sure.
Yeah, I think it's hard to really get. I don't know. It's hard to say. It'd be cool to see some of. I wonder what kind of events they're going to start holding if that does become a thing. Like how we have like street style skating, and whenever we could do some sort of freestyle free riding event, where like just imagine this. Imagine building a supercross track and letting a bunch of guys go out there with a bunch of good riders go out there on Alta bikes and just finding cool transfer jumps.
Yeah.
Like the coolest line, dude.
Yep.
Like find a sick line and just do it. Like skateboarders do it all the time. They put together lines.
Yep. So,
I mean, and guys do in the nitro, they'll find like a line to like transfer, like Wyndham always did it.
Yep.
That'd be kind of cool. Like an event where guys are just out there hanging out, just doing free riding and stuff. That'd be cool.
I could see that happening 100%. If eyes are on it, you can kind of automatically assume it's gonna be a pretty standard deal moving forward. You know what I mean?
Who do you think the popular motocross figure is right now? Let's say just like face value, like not just someone who knows motocross, someone just in general, the most front of motor dirt bikes.
I think it's tied right now. So I'm gonna say either Axel Hodges or Danger Boy Deegan.
You think so?
Dude, like their reach is insane. So number one, if we look at like Slay, that dude's got a Monster Energy background. Harley Davidson used him for some promo stuff, which I don't know why that didn't go anywhere. He's an action sports athlete that is very marketable because he's doing this cool, radical, blah, blah, blah stuff, man behind the helmet kind of deal. Mm-hmm. So I think he appeals to like the broader audience of action sports in general, right? Which is a pretty big grouping. Then you look at Danger Boy Deegan, and he's got all of the TikTok influencers at his house making videos, riding with him. He's crossing over to their TikTok, and they're
crossing over. He's got other stuff going on.
Dude, like literally, like he invites, and again, I'm showing my age here. I don't know all the cool TikTokers, whatever, but he invites them to his house. They make a video on TikTok, and these kids are getting like 2 million views in like the first day. And if you do those maybe like 2 or 3 times a year, then you get Danger Boy that goes to their house and does some fun stuff. I mean, the audience, think about it. The family alone already has 1 million subscribers on YouTube. That is so impossible to get 1 million subscribers. It's not even funny. So imagine, and that's not all dirt bike people. That's just people who are like, hey, I don't ride dirt bikes, but I saw him on so-and-so's IG, and he seems super, super cool. He's a young kid making it happen, doing all this cool, fun stuff with his family. So I think those two guys are just progressing the sport big.
I agree. Yeah, I agree too. That's what's interesting to me about like how it's changing is like, where the attention's at, dude. So it's like there's more ways to. I keep telling that to people all the time too. When kids are like, they want to learn how to ride. I'm like, hey, what are you looking for? Are you just trying to ride for fun? Are you trying to race? What are you trying to do? Because there's other ways to have fun in motocross rather than just racing and trying to get to Loretta's, dude.
Yeah.
That's a lot harder. And there's other ways you can just take a camera and find a cool spot to ride and make videos, dude. That could be better than winning Loretta's anyways, dude.
Exactly. And so I know a lot of people give him flack, but I'm good buddies with AJ Cat, and people give him shit all the time, like, oh, dude, the guy's not qualifying for main, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, this guy doesn't get, I mean, he can. I think he's talented. I give him shit all the time. I'm like, dude, I think you should be making mains. But if you think about it, making a main, dude, he's making what? Maybe a grand, maybe, for making a main. You know how much money he makes in one of his YouTube videos just from vlogging at the race?
Yeah.
If I was him,
100%, I totally agree.
Yeah, like, why would I give a shit about making a main? I'm gonna make more money off this freaking YouTube behind the scenes of me in the pits anyway. Like, plus my following's gonna be better. I'm still, because my YouTube is just so popping, I'm gonna get more sponsors than the guy who qualified and got 22nd from the, making it in the main anyway. Like, what's the point?
Dude, I'll tell you right now, dude. I got 5th place at Reliance Stadium at Houston, and I got a check from AMA for it was less than $600, and I was like, dude, you gotta be kidding me.
Exactly.
At that point, I was at that point, it was like this pip. I'm like, oh, dude, I think I messed up. I'm like, dude, this is a joke, dude. This has gotta be a joke, dude. I've made more local races, dude. I'm like, come on, dude.
You make more off of freaking Suzuki contingency than you do that, And so it's like
Houston was like a sold out stadium. Like, it's like 70,000 people. I'm like, are you kidding me, dude?
Exactly. So I don't know and people care about your social following just so much more than your results. Obviously, if you're a top 5 Supercross guy, then results are going to matter. But if it comes down to, I got 12th and that guy got 16th, but the guy in 16th has way bigger following, no one's going to care about my freaking 12th. Who gives a shit, So
and how much do you think Danger Boy Deegan's following has to do with just him being who he is and not actually good on a dirt bike? You think it's a lot of it?
Because he's Brian Deegan's son, you think?
No, just him, like his personality. Like, people want to like people see Danger Boy and they're like, oh, he's cool, like I like him, or no, he's Deegan's son, I want to follow. Like, do you think it's more of just it's Danger Boy, just him, or do you think it's Deegan's son? I mean, I know that Brian was a major part of setting all that up, like as far as like the organization of the content, but forget that, like the face is still Danger Boy Deegan, and people are following because they want to watch fucking, what's his real name? It's Hayden, right?
Hayden, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
It's hard for me to say because I'll be honest, I kind of skip through like all the personality kind of stuff and get to like the racing or hey, he's doing backflips, whatever. But I would say if you ask a lot of people, they'd say, oh, I think he's just a cool kid. It's really cool.
That's what I think too. And that's what I like about this movement. That's what I like about it, because then it takes away, because then all of a sudden you're riding because it's fun and you're doing it because you enjoy it and not because you're trying to make it to Loretta's. And some of that stuff is so overhyped anyways. And I'm like, dude, do you really want to go to Loretta's? Because I'm like, half the time it rains and it sucks and you're going to be freaking walking in mud all the time.
Yep. And you're going to be
waiting. You're only going to race freaking once every 2 days. I'm like, dude, it's not that great, man. You're going to park really far away. You have to rent a golf cart. You'll shower in a freaking outhouse, dude.
Exactly. So
I mean, it's cool. It's cool and all, but I'm just saying there's more to motocross than just going to Loretta's. Is all I'm getting at, dude.
Exactly. And
as an amateur.
Yes, a lot of people don't realize that. But I mean, I know. Again, I'm a racer. I enjoy, like, I love watching Danger Boy ride. I think it's freaking phenomenal. He's cool. Maybe I'll start getting into like not skipping through to the riding and like get the interpersonal stuff. It's just to kind of give a better background. But I do, like, I know for me, I like watching Brian Deacon kind of interacting with his kids and seeing his approach as a moto dad versus how my dad was as a moto dad or other moto dads I've seen, because it's kind of a refreshing approach. He's like, he gives them structure, but he doesn't like harp on them too much, at least on camera. You know what I mean? Like, we don't see him like, oh wow, you really messed up here, blah blah blah. He's like, hey man, get him next time.
Just doing it.
It's like taking a different approach is really refreshing.
That's probably why it's working too, because it's just like a real, like, hey, we're just happy, we're just out here just chilling, dude.
Exactly.
But the hard part is like being able to capture those moments. That's what's really hard, dude. If you don't have the funds to do that, man, it's really freaking hard, dude.
They've got 2 or 3 full-time guys.
I've heard they have a nice crew, dude.
Yeah, dude, 2 or 3 dudes full time. That's crazy.
And so that's obviously a part of the success. But I mean, still, it's still cool though. It shows you that it's possible, is all that it is.
Yeah, exactly. Do you think if we had a full-time dedicated crew that you or I could have a following like that?
I think so, dude.
Really?
I think we find anybody's life interesting. Just like I'm asking you questions about engineering, dude. Like, I think that shit's cool as hell, man. Like, so you don't, it's like, it's not up to you to decide what's cool. It's up to other people to decide. And there's so many people out there, dude. Like, YouTube's become pretty much like direct TV. It's like you can make your own TV channel, dude.
Yeah.
And you can show whatever you want to show and have Final Cut. Exactly. And so it's like the hardest part is showing what you want to like. I think I've heard people say that, that like Degans are, the way they're doing it, they're so exposed that it's kind of, at some point it's like, is it really worth it to be that exposed? Like you have to be completely transparent. You have no privacy.
Yeah.
But it's kind of what you want to get into. You can show what you don't want to show. So you're in control of what you want to show, but it's kind of what you want, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't know, man. I think they're doing it right. You can tell when we see content and it's like really forced and they're following a script and blah blah. But like I don't feel like that it's that way with the Degans, man. I feel like it's really, they're just cool group, want to go fast, do some cool stuff, supporting his kids, and having fun. So I think that's why people dig it. That's why I dig it, You know
who else does a really good job, I think, is Martin Brothers. I love their vlog, dude. I watch them all the time, dude. I actually bought one of their spot. They have an ad for Split. Like and I bought one of them because I'm like, I'm gonna try this stuff. And it was so good. I was like,
was it good? Really? Was it good?
Dude. I bought a Split at Lowe's Foods, and it was good, dude. Because Alex is always, he's like, I'm gonna hit my Split for energy, and I'm like, I got one because I was just so sick, dude.
We got to get him on this thing, man. That'd be cool to like.
I don't know Alex that well, but me and Jeremy were on the same team as amateurs in 2010. Okay. Yeah, and he was super cool, man. Like he's a phenomenal athlete. I know that. Because he ran track in school, and he's a really well-rounded athlete just before motocross.
Yeah.
So like their vlog is cool to see them. Like they're always talking about training, and it's a cool. I think it's a cool behind the scenes thing. It's cool.
Oh no, for sure. Theirs I like because it kind of, there's like no frills to it, right? They do like their intro logo, and then boom, it's just, there's no,
it's just raw. It's all raw, dude.
It's all raw,
dude. And they mess up and they cuss it, and it's awesome. That's the best part about it, though.
Exactly.
And I think it's hard to get over that fear of like being like letting people see like when you mess up. But I think it's cool. Like one thing that I always talk about is when we went through the COVID shutdown and like all the news networks started like anchoring from home with AirPods. I thought that was kind of cool. And they were like in their pajamas, like they were like just like in their living room. I thought it was kind of cool. I'm like, I kind of trusted them more. I'm like, that seems more real to me, dude.
Exactly. Yep.
So it's like, why wouldn't your content be any different, dude? Like just showing just real stuff. Like as long as you're doing cool stuff, like no one's gonna like, and it's not really, I think it's not up to you to decide what's cool or not, because I might find it cool rather than you. Like, you don't know what's cool. Like we all find each other interesting except for ourselves, dude. Yeah. It seems like.
Oh, most definitely. No, I think that's solid. No, man, I know for myself, I would love it if my following was as big as freaking Danger Boy Degans, dude. I would sit back, relax, just Dude,
we're gonna get Blake on here soon too. And he's getting set up. He'll have some cool stories because he raced Purcell and all those guys that entire year. It'll be really cool to talk about. And he actually he's like an amateur journalist, and he did some work with he rode the Alta bike a few times and actually did a Racer X report on it. Yeah. And if we can talk to him about that stuff, it'll be cool.
Have you ridden the Alta?
No, I wish I could, dude.
It's solid.
No, you rode one?
Yeah, yes. Yep. So I rode one 2 years ago. The only thing is it just kept overheating because we were in Naples, so it was like super hot out. So we were getting that thing smoking hot. So I rode it for a good 2 laps, and then it went to limp home mode. So
I have a question. About how those bikes. So when you jump, do the wheels, do they just spin freely, or do they? Because that wouldn't that mess up the way you jump? Like, because on a dirt bike, like you got the motor moving and stuff, like it's got to be different, right?
I think you can set that motor controller up for. I'm talking about 2 years ago, so I don't remember. I remember the power delivery a little more, but I'm thinking you can set the controller to have less and more, I guess, engine braking, like that simulated feel, like that regen feel. But
kick down off jumps probably.
Yeah. So if you compensate with your body or leave the gas on a little bit, you can combat that, and you get used to anything, right?
Because I just wonder, did you ever spend much time messing around with BMX or mountain bikes at all, jumping?
A little bit. Actually, I'm going to a downhill park tomorrow. Just finished up my mountain bike last week.
How are you at jumping mountain bikes, dude?
Awful.
Because I suck,
dude. And no one. I'm so glad you said that. No one freaking believes me that it's harder. At least on a dirt bike, I have all this weight. My bike takes over. Like it's the heaviest part of the system. When I'm on a mountain bike, dude, the bike's going all over the place.
So when I was coming up through amateurs, I was coming up with I don't know if you remember Kyle Engel at all. Do you remember Kyle Engel? He was in one of the
He rode for Honda, right?
So he was on like Red Bull Honda, and then Christian Craig, he was really good at BMX. Him and Kyle Engel were like super sick. They could 360 and like do 6 of them BMX. And at that time is when like the 16-inch like what Haro, right? What bike am I thinking of? So that's when the 16-inch Haro bikes came out, and they were they were super popular, and everybody had one at the tracks. And like every amateur national, someone would build a set of jumps, and everyone would go do it, and I would just endo immediately. I sucked. I was terrible. But everybody but freaking Tomac and like Craig and Engel, they were so good at some of those sick. They would do some 6 up on bicycles. Yeah, but it was totally different. So I always wondered about an Alta. I'm like, I probably couldn't even ride one, dude. If I couldn't jump.
It's different, dude. It's very similar to a regular internal combustion dirt bike, dude. But last time I rode a mountain bike at this place I'm going to tomorrow, I ended up going off of a little drop, landing sideways, and then lights out. Folded both my wheels, so pretty much on taco shells the whole time. It was ugly.
I went mountain biking with Eli and his dad once, and John Tomac was a professional downhill mountain.
Dude, he's
so we rented mountain, like whatever would happen, like John took us out and we went up and he bombed the downhill, and it was the most insane thing I've ever seen in my life, dude. We went to the edge of this hill, and it was just like there was no particular line. It was just like a flat hill with rain ruts and a few rocks, and then like it leveled out the bottom. And he just dropped in and I was on the brakes like the entire time, and he just launched and sent it through the whole. I was blown away. It was insane.
That's crazy.
Yeah, like it's hard to even explain like how crazy it was, but it was just like someone that like knows, that's used to like seeing dangerous stuff, and I'm like, that's pretty dangerous. I'm not doing that, dude.
I'm all set. I'm good.
I'm good.
No, that whole deal, man. Like bombing mountain bike sections, I give those guys so much credit. I mean, I love to watch it. I think most of us moto guys love watching like mountain biking stuff. I can't even fathom how they're doing half of it.
Yeah. What other sports do you like watching, dude? And like from what you're into other than motocross?
Formula One. I'm super addicted.
Formula One is insane, dude.
Dude, absolutely love that. MotoGP. My dad was like a big cyclist like back in the day, so I watch cycling sometimes. I hate playing this sport, but like soccer, I love watching soccer. I don't know why.
You have to respect it, man. Like those guys are physically, at one point that was the most physically demanding sport other than motocross. I think it was more demanding than motocross. I think motocross I think they might have proved there's more, but I've heard they run like marathons every game. Especially the World Cup guys.
They're nuts, man. I love watching soccer and mountain biking, stuff like that. Snowboarding here and there. Like I like doing, snowboarding more so than watching it. But,
it's funny thinking about sports compared to motocross, if they'd be similar or not. I was talking about mountain biking and stuff.
Yeah.
Because like you'd think that because you ride, you'd be okay at mountain biking, but like I freaking like I did a mountain bike race one time. Yeah. All the Fox guys did it, dude. Like me and the Hahn brothers were both out there. Yeah. And it was called the Sea Otter Classic, and it was one of the people at Fox, her husband worked for Specialized, and he got us set up, and we all and they put me in the junior expert class, dude. And in my head, like I just won 2 Loretta titles. Like I was in shape, dude. Like I was gonna pace these guys off the finish line. We started on Laguna Seca MotoGP course, and then went up into the mountains up in Santa Clara or whatever it was up in Northern California. Yeah. And in my head, I'm like, I'm just gonna pace these guys, see what's up, dude. I'll be good. So we take off, and these kids, they're like 14, and they have like these massive quads, and they're just like, dude, the sound that they were making is like woo, 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 like just going up. They were going like 25 miles an hour off the cement. And I got smoked by like 3 hours, dude. It was even close.
Nuts. It's absolutely nuts, man. Like we talk about progression it's a real thing, man.
And
I think in moto, I think for good or for bad, I think most of the time this is a positive. I think we think of ourselves as like freaking gods sometimes, right? Like, we're like, dude, we race these big heavy machines, we face death all the time, we got to be the best at everything, right? So it's nice to be a little humbled every once in a while.
The point I was getting at is I was going to say that I spent a lot of time riding with Adam Cianciarulo in Florida, like especially when I moved down there in 07. So my entire B and A class years I spent training, like, or at least when I would train with Ronnie Tishner, me and Adam would both be together, and we rode a lot together, and we'd go ride with Ronnie. And I remember at one point Adam was trying to get into MotoGP, and he was and he actually got it. I think he actually, I'm pretty sure, like I'm almost 90%, I'm like pretty positive his dad had told me that they had done a tryout for MotoGP, and Adam, he couldn't do it, dude.
Really?
Yeah, and it was when it was in the 80s, and he got like a mini G, like Alpine Star got him set up with a tryout, and Adam he was like, I can't figure it out. It's not my thing, dude.
Yeah.
He wasn't good enough. He wasn't good enough to I don't know, like it must be that much different, dude. You would think about it. It's got to be different, right? I mean,
it is. I think the overall concept, like if you're a fast motorcycle rider, things translate, right? Yeah. But the technique for that is crazy, because I've done like MotoGP style like track days and stuff like that, and training. Yeah, well, for Harley stuff. Oh, okay. And, we do that for training to keep ourselves like on our P's and Q's for when we're developing our bikes. Yeah. And dude, I'm telling you, like as a moto guy, I went out there, I was like, man, I got this, dude. Like the ground's not moving, there's no ruts, whatever, dude. It is a whole different world, man. Like I mean, again, I thought the no ruts thing would be kind of cool. Then you realize, oh shit, there's no ruts. So like, what's gonna hold me? You don't trust. You have to trust. You don't trust the bike. No way, dude. I'm not trusting that this. You're not gonna slide, dude. No, I'm like supposed to be dragging a knee and trust that this thing's not gonna slide out going 90. Are you kidding me? That's probably what Adam had trouble doing. Is he couldn't. They were like he couldn't do it. I'm like, what do you mean he couldn't? He couldn't do it, dude. Yeah, it's nuts. So like, I mean, your shifting has to be is different. And I feel like with moto, you know, when you say hit your mark, if you're within, I don't know, half a foot of like the lines you've been hitting, solid day, right? MotoGP stuff or Superbike, I mean, they're like millimeters or like half an inch off. Like you have to hit your line so precisely. Braking is absolutely paramount. Like no one really gives a shit about if you can hammer down on the straightaway. If you can get your trail braking solid, dude, you're like, that's half of it right there. I mean, the speed alone, like I think we have a good indicator of like when to hit our brakes. We have that inner intuitive feeling of like visuals of like, all right, here comes the corner, it's coming up. All right, brakes. When you're going 150, you don't that you have to train that, dude. Things happen so fast. So like, I don't know, man. And you feel like you're doing yoga on the bike the whole time. You're holding your body in these weird positions to get over the tank, and your knee is super extended, and it's a weird deal, man.
You know what's crazy is those guys never get hurt, dude. They really hardly ever get hurt.
Yeah, I think the worst you'll see is somebody high side and then like come down the shoulder. But they slide.
I did where I used to go, where the doctor I used to go see out in Fremont, California. I did therapy with the Hayden brothers one time, and the physical therapist told me that the only thing they ever really get hurt, but they only ever break fingers or collarbones.
Yeah, yep.
They fly. That's what he told me. So that's all they ever got done was fingers and collarbones, is what I heard.
Yep.
But I always wondered how they pick their braking points, because if you're going 150, like on a dirt bike, it's just like you kind of it's like the spots are within, like you see, you're looking 10 feet ahead of you. But if you're going 150, like, are you looking at numbers? You just like, what are you looking like? Are you using road marks?
They have like markers, like 400, 300, 200.
Okay, so you can look at numbers.
Yeah, but then I feel like most of the guys like don't really use that. Like all the serious guys, they feel it. They kind of feel based on the track. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's weird, man. It's a weird deal. And like I will say I crashed once, and crashing in those suits, it feels like heaven, dude. I'm so used to this like thin. Look at all the skin that's missing from my forearms, dude. Like all this freaking missing skin. And like all we have is like thin little jerseys, thin little pants. When you crash in a big race suit, dude, plus mine had an airbag in it. So once I hit like once there's a change in acceleration, it like airbags puff up in it. And dude, it's like you can't feel anything. It's crazy.
That's so sick. We need that in motocross so bad, dude.
Yeah, I agree.
A lot of guys talk about like our helmet technology. I don't know that I don't really know that you'll ever do anything to like completely eliminate injuries in motocross, because it's insane, dude. It's like something's gonna give, right? I don't know. It's a weird topic. Like people always ask what I think about it. I'm like, I don't know, dude. Like I always wore the Liat brace because I didn't want to be sitting in a hospital paralyzed being like, I should have wore a Liat brace.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, but then guys don't, then people, I've heard people getting hurt with them on. So it's like, what are you supposed to do? I don't know.
Yeah, I did a video on that a little while ago, and so many
Really?
people yeah.
What are your thoughts on it, dude?
Honestly, if you feel comfortable,
like, do you wear one? Do you wear one?
50-50. So sometimes
Okay.
I do, sometimes I don't. Right. Today I rode, I didn't have one on, and I felt fine, right? If anything, I'd say for me, when I don't have it on, it makes me ride even better technique. And so like, because I'm like, hey, if I'm in better technique, I lessen my chances of falling.
I agree with that 100%.
So like I'm even more hyper aware of like, I had to be perfect in the motorcycle, which usually makes me go faster. But I mean, if you're comfortable with it and it's the
and
extra peace of mind, then wear it, you know.
Yeah, that's what I did. That's what I did, man.
This sport is so as dangerous as it is, man. I mean, stuff can happen with or without it. So
100%, dude.
If you like it, I mean, you jive with it, run it.
Dude, what about, have you seen, I know in Supercross there were guys that weren't wearing knee braces, dude. Did you see that?
Yeah, there's a whole big movement. Like a lot of guys are going towards knee pads now.
That blew my mind. But then when I forget who posted, I think it was Cooper that posted the photo and wrote about why he was doing it. And I was like, 100% he's right, dude.
Yeah.
Like he talks about the tech. He's like, if I can feel my bike better, I'm not gonna wear knee pads. Like I'm not gonna crash it. I'm not gonna turn my ACL probably less.
Exactly.
I'm like, he's got a point, dude.
Yep.
But then at first I'm like, there's no way they're not wearing knee braces, dude. And I'm like, oh, well, then that point, like, he's right, dude. I did the same thing with other stuff. Like I didn't like wearing under protectors for the same reason, because I felt like I was all tight and stuff, dude.
Yeah. No, it's a weird deal. I mean, I've done both. Last couple of years I've done braces, and I think like for me the braces feel pretty solid. I'd be curious to see like if I threw on a set of those like TP199 knee guards or whatever, see how they would do, you know.
I tore my ACL twice riding, so I was always terrified. Like I wore the asterisk braces with like the lockouts in them and stuff. I was always hurting my knees, man.
Yeah, same. I'm the same way, man.
Yeah,
it's weird. You always figure, you hear pro, you assume they've got the highest end, highest tech stuff. So,
dude, I honestly think it's a game of luck, dude. Yeah. I know, I really do. I've seen people say it's not, that crashing's a skill, but I think that it's just, I think that like over your career, I mean, think about, like Carmichael, Stewart, Dungy, those guys really, Carmichael tore his ACL, right? He just rode without one, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So I'm just saying though, that like some guys just get through and they don't have any bads. Like look at Kennard and look at Wilson. That's not their fault. They just had like a bunch of bad incidents, dude.
Yeah. Yep.
And then Roxon too. Like he's the fact that he pulled that off is insane. He's a monster. But he's an anomaly, dude. I'm just saying, but like as far as going from amateur to pro with an injury, I don't know how you really monitor that, dude. I think you just have to, whatever happens, and you just take what you get, dude.
Exactly. That such is our sport, man. I mean, that's just part of motocross, you know?
Yeah, sick, dude. You want to wrap this thing up, man?
Yeah. This is fun, dude.
Was that cool?